It's your Afrogoth Nicole Kali, live from Wilk Street Tunnel in ALX, also known as Alexandria, Virginia. How are you, my dear Phoenixes and members of the African diaspora, the audience? We're doing well. We wish we could say the same for many of you, but we understand it has been a chaotic November. Before we get into the history of where we are, we did want to acknowledge that we are sorry for the upheaval, the turmoil, emotionally, mentally, etc., from the ultimate choice in American president. For those of us who are Black, who are of non-white ancestry, it was a stark reminder that there's work to do and that all around us there's still the lingering hatred and oppression from the Jim Crow years, from slavery, from colonialism. These have not gone away, much like a ghost that never dies. There is the ongoing presence of the specter that is fascism, right? We know. That's why we created RTD. Rock the Diaspora is, a direct shield and sword against the hatred that we saw throughout our lifetime, not just as kids, like in our 30s and our 20s. We all have a duty, whether we are kinfolk or not, but especially for us, after what our ancestors bore just to survive, to speak out, against anti-Blackness, against racism, against the keeping down, of our circumstances. We deserve better, and we will create better. If there's anyone that has an issue with that or is against that, well, they are against Black liberation. And we don't have time for that. We don't have the patience for it either. So, that being said, creating a direct shield and sword, a response against fascism, right? There's obviously going to be visible support for African and Black contributions in history and culture, around the world. To be Afrofuturist is simply to acknowledge all eras right now, the past that we were, the present that we are, and the future that we will be. We will always exist, and we'll always be changing, just like history changes. So this segues into the relevance of here, Wilk Street Tunnel. It was created in 1851, right before the beginning of the Civil War. And it was a quintessential pathway during the Civil War and the pre-war years. So one can guess that the influx of both free and enslaved Black people coincided with the development of Wilk Street Tunnel as a roundhouse and a railway port. Now, Haiti gained their freedom by 1809, right? With General Léo Bécher, Sanité Belair, just many of the people who participated in the revolution, Jacques Dessalines. There are hundreds of neighborhoods, across the United States and the world who took their inspiration from Haiti, named their neighborhoods Haiti, right? One of the oldest is here in Alexandria, and it was already well known enough to be published in the local newspaper, the Alexandria Gazette, by 1860. At this point, Wilk Street Tunnel had been operating as a rail station for a decade. Alexandria boasted the largest population of free Black citizens by the mid-1860s. In terms of Virginia, it was the third largest. I believe Richmond and perhaps DC would be considered the largest populations of free Black people at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, though. Trying to educate, but also willing to learn and be corrected. We're gathering as much information as we can about the city that we've chosen to call home, and the place that we all live in, many of us anyway. You were listening to the Selectors, Rock Back. It's going to be quite an eclectic playlist. We were just listening to High on Fire, Devolution, setting a tone of Afro-goth and darkness as we sit in this haunted tunnel. So, as we said, by the 1850s, it had already begun its construction. And it operated for 124 more years, aka until 1975, and changed into this haunted pathway. And the plaque memorializes, African Americans' presence in Haiti and the neighborhoods between Fairfax Streets today and Gibbon/Prince Streets. But the city, hell, the states, still distances themselves from why the choices of African Americans and the relevance is necessary, why Haiti was so important. Important indeed. Certainly my spirit is not the only one feeling unrest in these times, in any of the times that we have yet to really gain our reparations and be acknowledged for our trauma, in the diaspora. Some have sworn that they still hear these scuttling train tracks and see people from ages long gone by. Everyone uses this tunnel now, of all races, of all ages, abilities. I actually saw, a member of the kinfolk walk by, an older gentleman, who was just walking down memory lane, literally. Lived here before 1975 and remembered when there was still a train here. There's echoes when it seems that no one is here or there. Some memories are living and remembered, and others are gone, but they're not forgotten. So we're going to be showcasing, some of the events that have happened in the past week. They are always available at nicokali.com and on our profile as well, through rockthediaspora.org and my own personal one, nicokali.com/Mid-Atlantic Metal Punk. There you can see, for at least the last 2 months, the shows that are happening in the heavy/alternative indie/scene. And hopefully, broaden your horizons artistically and sonically. So last Wednesday, the 13th, the Classionistas in Austria, Vienna, at Chelsea, the venue. Delta Sleep is on tour, and they performed with Teen Suicide at Ferris Wheeler's Backyard and Barbecue, Dallas, Texas. Blood Incantation at 191 Tool, Tucson, Arizona. They're 3 hours behind. Still for Wednesday, Tantric, Apex Nemesis, The Intemperate Sons, and We Are the Black Things at Whiskey A Go-Go, famous venue in LA, Hollywood. Sting is at the Wiltern in LA, and that was at 8 on Wednesday. Flowers for the Dead and Destructo Disc were also performing at 123 Pleasant Street, Morgantown. Thursday passed. There's Tycho, who I love, Chillwave Legends at History in Toronto, Canada. Sacrifice for the Heavy Lords, Scam, Arcane, Reverent Sun at 66 Bar in Cambridge, England, UK. Seconds Revealed at Fonclia Pub, Rome, Italia. Tanariel, one of my favorite artists, was at Atlanta's Center Stage. There was a protest for Sudan as well on last Thursday. Performing, there's Helleride and Devin Thompson at the Mint in LA. Wild Child and Susto at Neptune Theater in Seattle, Washington. Pig Destroyer and Mammoth Grinder, as well as Deliriant Nerve and Company, Black Cat, and that's U Street, DC. Tokyo Police Club Farewell Tour, and that was at the Howard Theater as well in DC. It's Shaw. Shaw is where, Howard University is, one of the most famous and acclaimed HBCUs. Vertical Horizons also on an anniversary tour, and they were at the Ramcat in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Filth, Broken Side is on tour. Lil Rain Pop, and Resistor, Love Drafts Brewing Company, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Last Friday, over at LaGrange Bar in Bogota, Colombia. We had 80s night with Lola, Pam, and Lou Poker. tortured demon at the Asylum venue in Birmingham, England, with 7 Year War and Hollow Ritual. Nice. For more shows on Friday, we have Makati, Origami Button, and the Masquerade in Atlanta. Hi, Marshall. Good to see you. I really appreciate you letting me know that I am special and I am beautiful. Like, more details about that in our personal talk, but that is really welcome and unexpected. Because what I do, I don't always expect to be seen, and, you know, its relevance, I don't always expect to be appreciated. It's never taken for granted, so. If you are ready, we have more shows, and I can recap, as I'm going through shows, what we were discussing just before you arrived. This is definitely a personal live stream, as they all are, but especially now. Talking about the turmoil and just how triggering it was for many of us to have the confirmation in the last election that indeed racism is complicit through the actions of our peers and our neighbors. Fascism does not spring out of a vacuum. It occurs because people allow it to occur from the top to the bottom. That is hard for people to come to grips with. But they have to face their role in the current reality. No more denial. Everybody needs to know that they're beautiful, but everyone needs to know that you're the most beautiful. My heart, as Tina says from Bob's Burger, laying on the floor. My heart. Okay, so just some recap shows. For Wednesday, the Clashinistas, which is obviously a Clash tribute band, they were over in Austria, in Vienna. Blood Incantations on tour, they're in Tucson, Arizona. Sting is like the legend from the Police, and they were performing for 4 headline shows straight in LA at the Wiltern. Tanediel, who is Afrofuturist, R&B, electro-experimental artist who I love, their album Electric Honey just dropped, and they officially have been signed to a label. So they are celebrating that by having a series of tour dates, and I promised that I would plug them. So Tanerielle, Tanerelle. I recommend the song Dream Girl by her. Friday, back on that, we got Acid King at San Francisco's The Chapel. Chapel is an amazing venue, which is also purportedly haunted, like this tunnel. Thank you for loving my earrings. They're part of the Diaspora Apparel. I didn't make these personally, but they tie in thematically to the Adinkra symbols we are wearing on ourselves and that you will see in our fashion throughout this live. Congratulations so much to Tanerielle. Congratulations. So, as we said, we're talking about fascism and its contribution to American/US society and, unfortunately, the global infrastructure as we know it today. And, again, the presidency, who is going to be in power, not just in terms of the top office, but also Senate and the House of Representatives. At this point in time, Republicans will rule both bodies of Congress. Be ready for that. Not in a fear-mongering way, but simply just prepare for what that means in terms of legislation. Don't be surprised, but be ready. We're in Wilk Street Tunnel. We'll be giving you a history tour in a little while. Walk down to one end and then come back to the other, just so you know where you are. So we mentioned Acid King, right? And, California. Cardiel also performed on Friday with Cryptic Witch and Blood Oath. High Dive, Denver, Colorado. I missed you too, Marvin. Te extraño, homie. Salute. And, shout out to the Yautja and, all of that good Afrofuturist scientific stuff. Very, very cool. Malakath were at the Femme Fest in Colorado at the Roxy Theater. Persia Heretics performed with them, and the Variant, etc. Overkill, Mesa Theater, Grand Junction, Colorado at Friday. Baby Metal, they're performing today, but they performed on last Friday in DC at the Anthem. The Goons, Murder and Sick Move, Baltimore's Metro Gallery, famed venue. Dare to Live Against Everyone, Execute, the Shamrock Inn, Baltimore. Spring Silver, Manners, and Company at Wax Atlas in Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore is one of the premier locations for hardcore, for extreme music on the East Coast, but especially in the Mid-Atlantic. That is why many of our shows will be listed from there, and we also know some of these musicians too. Animals as Leaders, the Fillmore, Silver Spring, that's in Maryland. We're listening to Sidi Kumi, which is a Moroccan Ganawa folk song. North/West African, in the sense that slavery wasn't just limited to the United States. Many of these trans-Saharan slave trade depended on interracial, intra-community enslavement. For example, I am from the Hausa. Many of us, unfortunately, traded our neighbors and the people that we were at war with. The Oyo Empire, another adjacent community in Nigeria, they also traded peoples of the Dahomey Kingdom in Benin. You might have seen The Woman King. That is a direct central part of the narrative, not just the narrative in the sense of a story, but history. The truth is that before European conquerors ever came to the motherland, we already were having conflicts based on resources and regional, disputes ourselves, and facilitating the trade and even participating in it. This is the painful reality, and many people should know that, but know that in nuance. It's not an excuse for what happened in terms of the European influence or the Arab/Muslim influence. There's different tiers of slavery in Africa before we get back to the shows. It took the form of from indentured servitude to serving in masters' houses to being part of the imperial guard. So literally being forced militarily into service and to protect the oppressor, to protect the sultanates, to protect their servants, the various merchants who took them into the north, right? Or took them into Central West Africa. Many of the people who ended up in Africa but did not leave the continent as part of the trade would either escape to gain their freedom or remain in service for the rest of their long lives. Through that, you have the Ganawa, right? The Moroccan community that originally comes from different empires in the Central and West regions. The Ashanti Kingdom, right? They once came from there. Senegambia and the Mali Empire, the different Tuareg states that you find in the desert and throughout the Sahel, which is the West Central African version of the Sahara. You can see me as a Gojie. Many people have said that, and that actually is why I wear the warrior swords, the Akofena, even if it's Ghanaian, because that is a spirit that I do think I embody, and so is the rest of my family. We're listening to Agora Ninguém Chora Mais by Erasmo Carlos, about times changing and speaking to the chorus within yourself. Hope you're enjoying the soundtrack and the cultural vibes. So, Animals as Leaders, again, many of the bands we list and shows have black people at the helm. Tosin Abasi is the virtuoso guitarist and lead singer in Animals as Leaders. Mordant Red performed at QXT's in Newark, New Jersey on Friday with Green Inferno and Co. Shook Daniels, black folk indie rock artist, performed with Adeem the Artist at the Evening Muse in Charlotte, North Carolina. Alan Parsons Project, progressive rock, you know them, or maybe you don't. Wind Creek Event Center in Pennsylvania. Torino Death Ride, Supreme Commander & Co., Reclaim Arcade, Fredericksburg, Virginia. And Saturday, so there's a rally for Gaza, and that's every Saturday in Norfolk, Virginia, south of the state. 757, aka Land of Star Trek. We'll get into NERD's Afrofuturist leanings as well, even if Pharrell is a total clown. But it must be said that in terms of kinfolk resistance and solidarity with other communities, 757 and Norfolk are leading. And the rally will be every Saturday at the corner between St. Paul's Avenue and City Hall. So right next to City Hall, and then again at the crossroad of St. Paul's Avenue, there's a protest for Palestine from 5 to 7, okay? Every week. It did remind me of the Futurama theme in terms of the bells. Yeah. So nice to see you, Marshall. Thanks for being here. Sudan rally again in London at Trafalgar Square. That was also last month as well. This was for the first time we were including shows from Ethiopia, the capital, Addis Ababa. And at the B Lounge, there was Abinet, Garma, Biruk, and Gideon. Maputo, not the first time we featured Mozambique, had the artist Ivo Maya. Follow Artiste Maputo for daily and weekly shows in the city. Narcom, Sacrosanct and Company, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Club 77. Dark Dance Alternative Night came around once again at the Sputnik. And the Sputnik is the event, but it's at Bog Social and Supply in Atlanta, Georgia. So every Saturday or every other, DJ Ashar has Dark Dance Alternative Beat Party for the gothy bats of ATL. Lucero, you know I love them. Goldfields, Roseville, California. LA, and SoCal. There's Bar Sinister, and that is Goth and Go-Go every Saturday at 10. Resident DJs are DJ JPEG and DJ Tommy or Pierce. Walk the Plank, Out to Destroy, Scorpion performed at Atlas Brew Works in downtown DC. Aisle 19, Tartarian, Polluted Tongues, Simple Bar and Grill, also in DC. Jericho Kane, courtesy of Magnetar Concert Promotions, and Bar 13, Wilmington, Delaware, with Crow Hunter. Cryptic Goth Night, DJ Daystar, The Depot in Baltimore. Akikosa, Tending to the Corpses, Catonsville, Maryland, with East Coast Metal Mayhem. Don't forget to follow them. Bearing and Broadside came out of their hidey holes at House of Independence, Asbury Park, NJ, New Jersey. And last but not least, for Saturday, there is Good Time, Mystery Vision, Hi-Fi, Gridlocks & Co. at the Broadway in Bushwick, Brooklyn, NYC. Wrapping it up for Sunday, Modest Mouse, and we'll all float on, okay. History, Toronto, Canada. You're listening to Tame Impala, by the way. Desire Be, Desire Go, on the album Antares. One of the first songs I ever heard by this band, and I've loved them since. Seems like forever ago. It was about 10 years ago or more. That's one of my favorites. Boilers, Comprehend, Echolocation and Co. at the Firebug, Inside/Outside Festival, Leicester, England. Doc Hammer, Trash Dragon, Tower Bar in San Francisco. Crowbar, Morbid Visions, Armed for the Apocalypse, we're at El Corazon, and that's in Seattle, Washington. Throne of Exile, Oceans of Illusions with Ish Roberts, who I love. Dingbats, Clifton, New Jersey. and WASP, W-A-S-P, and Death Angel at Franklin Music Hall in Philly, Pennsylvania. So, there's been protests over water. We knew that this day would come, this era of climate change and regional wars over necessities, the tier of needs, the hierarchy of needs would come. And Egypt and Sudan are warring over water. There's been an accord struck over the Nile. We will see if it lasts, but there definitely has been a fight about it. Tame Impala is a huge vibe. So the same artist we just heard singing the Futurama-esque theme, Erasmo Carlos, amazing Tropicalia, Brazilian popular artist. I'll take you down the tunnel now, and then while I am standing, you can see my outfit as well. So we're walking towards the shorter end of the tunnel that leads out to Gibbon Street. Tropicalia is the name of the genre. Many black people or Afro-Brazilians have contributed to this genre. Everyone from Gilberto Gil to Tania Cruz, Nana Vasconcelos, Milton Nascimento, but the artist Erasmo Carlos, I'll type it for you. So this is the end of the tunnel. Forgive my Brazilian Portuguese, I'm still learning. Welcome to Wilk Street Tunnel, y'all. So, now, since you're here, Marshall, it would be a great time to tell you about the history of this place. It was built about 173 years ago now. Construction began in 1851. And by 1860, this city had the third largest free black American population in Virginia. Probably about number 10 in the entire nation. The adjacent community was called Hayti because they were inspired by, as you can imagine, the international shock and inspiration of the Haitian Revolution. And people flocked here from both the Confederacy and the Union to find people like themselves, to find a place where they knew that they could be appreciated and safe. Now, Wilk Street Tunnel during the Civil War, as you can imagine, and became a quintessential inroad and I guess you can say stop for goods in the South. And you can imagine that it facilitated the flight of people from, the south of Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, and more. So we're about to come out the tunnel here. We just wanted you to see what it looks like. And we'll read you the plaque too. Show you the plaque and read you the plaque. How are y'all doing? I definitely believe when they say that this place is haunted. It has such presence. Tangible. Oh, there's plaques all along the wall here. I guess we can just pick one. And if you ever come here in Alexandria, this is how I learned the history of this place as well. Orange and Alexandria Railroad Roundhouse, formerly located near the Duke and South Henry Streets, named after chief of the railroad operations during the Civil War, and you can imagine that he's definitely a Confederate. Alexandria Railroads. So 3 developed in Alexandria during the mid-19th century, a time of industrial revolution and expansion, as you can imagine. One was in Harper's Ferry, the other was here. And all of these lines were consolidated during the Civil War. So by 1862, the Union Army had a crucial way to essentially win the war and also cut off resources to the Confederacy. Hayti. Now, this is where I got the information from. In the 1980s and 90s, Alexandria Archaeology conducted a series of excavations and archival research, right, into the heart of the former Hayti neighborhood. And that was on the 400 block of South Rural Street. Between 1850 and 1861, free black neighborhoods occupied this essentially square, or semi-square. And one of the most famous was Hannah Jackson. Who was Hannah? Well, Hannah was a free black laundress / seamstress who bought the first, I believe, dwelling in the Hayti neighborhood in Alexandria, VA in 1820. From there, it just skyrocketed, and next thing you know, 300 people were living in Hayti, then 1,000, then 3,000. I'm sure they'll still find the remnants of black presence here, in this city. And we should be grateful for that. But is it difficult? Yes. Is it literally haunting? Yes. Look up here. Tunnel, baby. So you can see as we're walking away where we just came from. History is ongoing and created by us. I am changing colors in the dark. How cool is that? Afrofuturism. We also picked this tunnel because it is literally so many different eras existing right now. You see the top of it, refurbished and bolstered from the 1850s up until the 70s. You see these pathway that I've been walking on, that was repaved as late as 2023. we are forever building on top of the achievements and the groundwork of others. And that is why we are Afro-futurists. Perfect time to talk about our diaspora apparel before we get into trivia with one of our favorite people, Marshall Davis. Before we get into diaspora apparel and Afrofuturism and African people, thank you so much, Long Ma, aka MJD Messy Productions. You're an amazing individual. They were one half of my event team for the pop-up party, the Punk Prospect Park party. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much for your amazing energy and, just knowing exactly what to do and where to be. So, we've talked about Afro-funeral and Afro-goth attire, right? It isn't just an aesthetic, it also is honoring the different tribes and ethnic communities of Africa. This we purchased from a Ghanaian fabric outlet / boutique. It is funeral fabric, I believe, from the Talensi and communities around the Tano River in Ghana. It is black. We call this Nana because Nana Bor is the name of the boutique. So Nana or Dirge. Dirge means a funeral hymn or a solemn song, right? Nana / Dirge. The shirt we've made, it took a couple of tries, and as you can see, it is semi-deconstructing, but we consider it a success because it still managed to stay on. We managed to stay on and to really convey the theme that we have here in terms of putting together African heritage, but also seeing how, identity frays and comes apart and then is put back together, restitched into something different, All of these are themes that are part of diaspora apparel, Marshall really liked our earrings, but we have an Akofena scarf here to pair with it. And I can actually show you that on us. Nana is also the fabric that you see here. We love it, we love it. Akofena. Now, as with most things that we create, it's multi-purpose. So I personally like putting it around my shoulders here, kind of like this. But if you don't want to hold it there, here's a trick. For someone lucky who wants an Akofena scarf, I'm going to be putting these on our site. Our shop is called rockthediaspora.redbubble.com. So nothing too fancy, just diaspora apparel and ways that you can get connected with our people, our kinsfolk. Nana fabric as a belt, waistband here. We have the Nana pants on, as you can see, with partial revealed striped denim. Check it out. Shirt's coming undone, but again, we told you it's all about Afro-goth and accepting things changing, The present of this shirt was a little more together, or the past rather, the present's a little more loose and deconstructed, it's all good. And in the future, you'll see us wearing something even more tight and together. But this is the prototypical version of the fashion we promise that we show you. Akofena is an Adinkra Ghanaian symbol, meaning warrior swords. It symbolizes valor, courage, and community. Stronger together. This is the back of the shirt. This is also the fabric, the Nana a little bit closer. You can also see the exposed design here, right? But there's more. It goes really nicely, the shirt, with our leather Don't Fear the Blackness shirts. Now we're gonna be making, jackets rather. We're gonna be making some of these for you to be wearing of your own. These will run you about $80 to $90, including shipping. For those of y'all outside of the country, I'm sorry, you might have to pay extra, so probably about 100 or so. But we want to make Afro-goth, Afro-futurist metalwear as accessible and as default as possible. There's no reason that we shouldn't be part of alternative, right? Being that we're alternative ourselves. So, before we get into trivia, fam, we got some more diaspora apparel to be showing it. We're listening to Doechii, Catfish. Hope you're enjoying this live, Marshall. We're enjoying having you here. You want me to get closer? Okay. Hold up. So, let's get some mobility going here. Just to see what we're doing. It is very breathable fabric. It's wax print, Ankara. That actually means, it's a Hausa word, I think it means, and it comes from Ghana. Yeah, because Ankara, they were trying to say Accra, right? But the Hausa word ends up being Ankara. So that still defines like wax fabric to this day. I'm so glad you enjoyed the live. Hope you appreciate the Nana funeral fabric. To be Afro-goth is always in a state of mourning, but also to be proud, right? Simultaneously mourning for the future and the past, the present we could have had, but also being fiercely invested in and proud of who we are today as African, Afro-diaspora people. Oodles and O's, you know. Oodles and O's, you know. I get it. De La really snapped on this one, yo. This is called a show. So speaking of Tano, speaking of Tano, where we got this funeral fabric from, where it is indigenous too, we got the Tano shirt from another Ghanaian boutique called JSD International. Unisex. I've worn it. It is beautiful. You'll see me wearing more of this in upcoming photo sets. Really good for layering. Good for casual as well as formal, if you know how to wear it. So we got our Afro-goth Vampira pants. Vampira squared because we have both the logo slogan on the side here, Rock the Diaspora, but we also have We Promise Not to Bite with the chibi / cartoon version of Blade there with the fangs and the high top fade. Always shouting out our peoples and the influence of Afro-goth in culture and infusing Afro-goth icons like Blade, you know. Morpheus as well, because cyberpunk and cybergoth is obviously part of that too. This is our Iyoba. Iyoba meaning Queen Mother. Iyoba would be essentially the Queen Regents of the kings, the Obas. Iyoba. Iya, mother. Oba, king. In some generations, when there wasn't a son or a king to rule, the Queen Mother would become the main ruler. All of these are obviously part of the historical journey of diaspora apparel. I know these things. I want everyone to know these things and be having dialogue about them in terms of, like, hey, what are you wearing? Like, hey, what is the meaning of this? Like, hey, like, what is the symbol on these gauntlets to go with, the Nana funeral fabric, and actually are co-stitched with the funeral fabric. So at the same time you're getting your goth on, you can also wear these custom Aquafina funeral fabric gauntlets, right? Now, I think I might have made them big enough to put over the leather. We shall see, man. Oh, what are you doing? Yep. So these are Aquafina / like funeral fabric gauntlets. Took us about 4 hours to stitch all of these. Make sure it just like fit and was snug, that it wouldn't rip, that it would look strong, and us also keep us warm, So let's see. How do you like our Aquafina gauntlets, fam? Not bad for a first try. So everything matches, obviously. We have our Aquafina scarf, we have our Aquafina / Nana gauntlets here. We have our Nana headband, you didn't see. But it actually matches everything else that we're wearing too. So from the head down to the legs and the gams, we are Diaspora Apparel decked out. Pretty much everything that we have on is custom made by us, or accessorizing what we've made. Obviously this puffy sweater is from Wet Seal, that's not mine. Or no, that's from Rainbow, my bad. I love Rainbow, but I did not design the puffy. I didn't design the jacket either, but I did apply our logo on the back. So we're listening to Bikini Bottom by one of my favorite artists, Shivani. Wants to make it with mommy. No, I mean, no. It's only me that he on. I'm glad you like that band. And I just want to make sure that I'm being as thorough as possible. What else do we have? Because that's not all. We just want to sit down. We made a bustier as well. Nice sleeveless corset, very, very goth. On, it's on, I'm ready. Oh, sir. Because once Shivani gives him that me know. We're gonna get into trivia in a second, but I just wanted to vibe out with you. Bikini Bottom, like, what? A moment in Afrofuturist time. Oh, by the way, an amazing podcast by Marshall Longma and JD Messy Productions. Sweat the Technique. You might have seen them on Instagram. Go follow them on Instagram and YouTube. They have amazing diasporic dialogue with other kinfolk, brothers Kutta and Titus, right? So it's trio, I believe. And they actually just featured me on their podcast to talk about Afrofuturism and diaspora apparel. So I wanted to say, in exchange for, like giving me that amazing opportunity to just learn and to listen to you and your inspirations for Afrofuturism, the Matrix, etc. I was like, all right, I got you. So friends and, people that are kinfolk, we support each other. We find ways to help one another out. Also wanted to plug Neo Volpe's event. That'll be Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. You will not want to miss it. There's going to be all sorts of Black people mood / vibe. Where is the place? Well, space is the place, but the space and the place will be at the Market Bar at Prospect Lefford Gardens. That's actually not too far from where we had the punk pop-up party. Wow. Sorry to say that 3 times fast. You heard me right. Neo Volpe with Marshall, Longma, and company are having an event this upcoming Saturday. Prospect Park / Lefford's garden area, Market Bar. Same owner that had Zanmi, that Haitian restaurant around that way. Same person. So you were supporting kinfolk, like, directly, no middlemen, okay? Like, Neo Volpe. It's called Share the Vibe, so we are sharing the vibe, literally, and the event. Don't miss it. Now you have no excuse. We know how hard it is to be a promoter, being one ourselves, and to get the word out. They're doing a fantastic job, but why not boost and use the platform that we have to accelerate and amplify these voices, the process? You know it's possible. You were listening to Joyce, Brazilian, and I think might be partially Afro-Brazilian, compositora, songwriteress. No fundo do mar. The song is called No Fundo do Mar. Let me see if I still remember the words. Oh, you're the best. Hoje ninguém mais dorme. Até no dia. Quando a coruja pia. Faz barulho enorme. Quero que alguém me fome. A ninguém desconfia. Olha a coruja fia. Mas a coruja dorme. No fundo do mar. Hey, I know it's right, bro. No fundo do mar. So this is Joao Donato and Joyce on the psychedelic / jazz label Far Out Recordings. If you're into jazz and like that kind of amazing soulful music, you would love this label. Everything from samba to Brazilian popular music, you name it. Don't forget Neo Volpe, Share the Vibe. We listed previous shows. Now we're going to be, plugging shows that are coming up. And we'll also be posting this in the comments too, so you won't miss it. We already have at least one person that said that they're interested. Danon Singh from, Jahaji Music. Hype about that. I was like, what? Like, you didn't even know exactly what the event's about, but you seem hype about it, so that just goes to show y'all are cultivating some excitement and getting people interested. I'm just doing the work and letting them know. Why are you lucky, Marshall? I won't read your answer out loud, but I do want to know why you think so. I think I'm blessed too, both to be in your presence and to have this opportunity. It is the least that I can do. And like all of our team is behind you, like we're with you 100%. You earned it, you worked so hard. Yeah, welcome home, fam. That's more apparel for you. Check this out. We're gonna put ourselves on most of the merch, but we, this is very Afro-goth, like black metal vibes. It's us like holding our sledgehammer as Nicole Kali. The whole warrior theme, and literally embrace your warrior. Very like 80s Conan the Barbarian hero vibes. We know y'all are gonna love that. That's one of our more inexpensive designs on redbubble.com. And last but not least, let's see what we got. We have our Edwardian shirt, and Edwardian is one of the colonial eras from 1900 to about 1915. Many of the last independent rulers of Africa met their end or were deposed during this time. Pierre VI from the Congo, Obaranwi from Nigeria, Oba of Benin/Nigeria. So this is an homage to them, basically, before colonialism, before the takeover. Even though many of us wore the fashion of the conqueror, we still fiercely resisted them. So never forget, though we might seem that we adopted the trends and the fashions of our overseers, as it were, of the conqueror, we never abandoned who we truly were, ourselves. Much like Chinua Achebe said, writing all this stuff in the master's language. It's like, well, yes, we're writing this in the master's tongue, and we intend to do damage with the weaving of African and European influence together, because you cannot use the master's tools to dismantle their house, right? Well, you can certainly use your own tools and the master's tools to do it, and that is why the syncretism of African and European influence is unfortunate, but it is necessary to have dialogue about and to understand in context. Like, no, we're not saying that European influence is inherently good. We're saying it was detrimental. What are we also saying? That it is going to take the acceptance that there is now a hybridization. There is now, for most of us who have been part of the colonial system, there is a collaboration, an unwilling collaboration between the two. Now we are both African and American. Now we are both, African and European, etc. Wherever they have touched is wherever we have had to change, right, and adapt. This is Afrofuturism. Afrofuturism is adaptation to colonialism, right? Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite songs. And I forget the name of this band. What is the name of this band? From Crossing the Bridge, The Sound of Istanbul. Sia band. I can't believe they're one of my favorite bands for such a long time. And it's been so long that I literally forgot their name. Okay, so there's a documentary. I'm obviously an ethnomusicologist. I love music from around the world. The Turks, the Ottoman Empire, Turkey, are traditionally oppressors, right? They are conquerors, but they have some of the most beautiful music in the history of human civilization. And it actually has touched many different places that you might not expect. When people usually hear Turkish music, they're surprised to hear how much it sounds like Greek music because of conquest. How much it sounds like music from North Africa. Again, same, and just confluence of Muslim peoples. The song is called Hayyan. One of my favorite songs. So here they are in Istanbul on a rooftop. And he's talking about friendship. I'll try to translate as much as I can. They tell you to disavow your family. They tell you to disavow what you love. They tell you to get rid of everything that is you so that you can be happy. The world will take everything from you if you let it. And peace may end, he says, and everything may come to ruin, but you, my friend, I still have you. Dostum, friend. Dost means friend as well in Hindi. So many of the languages like Turkish, etc., have roots in Indo-European linguistics, so they have the same meaning. They retain the same meaning. It's dosti, it's dost, dostum, dostumi in some parts of the world. And then that's when we come back to where you just heard when his cell phone rings in the middle of this very philosophical discussion of music. What do you think about that, Marshall? We may not have peace and the world may come to ruin, but you, my friend, we still have each other. You are still free. I'm like, oh, so powerful. They have the clip where they're playing the zither, the Turkish zither. Oh, it sounds so pretty. And they're talking about how people romanticize homelessness and poverty, and it's true. Like, you can't romanticize concrete. Like, when you lay it on the street and your head hits the ground, you feel it, you know? Like, it's not so pretty when you're actually in it. Listen to that. I still remember, like, hearing that, like, 20 years ago. Like, this clip, it just took my breath away. Like, him just hitting that one note and then expanding to hit the rest of them, because he knows how to play it well. Wow. Talking about Halil and the center of Istanbul. I think it was well done too. They're really, really deep ass dudes, CSCFM. Oh, so, wow, you were so prescient. So I was about to say, like, one of the clips that I remember still to this day, as he's playing the zither on this rooftop in Istanbul, overlooking the Bosphorus River, he's talking about younger people than him getting in the game of music and being promised everything, right? You know, like, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, we'll make life so much easier, you know, like, just like sell out. And they fall for it, he says, like every single time. Like, we already went that road, he says, you know, like, you're gonna make me compromise what I made art for in the first place. You're gonna, like, promise me a deal. And then I'm gonna end up regretting it. And I'm like, that's a very jaded outlook, but also it's true. It's true. The young always get preyed upon and exploited in terms of their artistic, you know, inspirations and contributions. And that's what he's talking about here. They made one album and they were out, and that was independent. They never signed like a major label. And they fall for it. Yeah, that's what he just said. He's like, I can't do that, you know what I mean? Like, why I do this is like more than any paper could afford me, you know, like what paper can sign me. Like, the signing of it, he said, basically is temporary. What I lose from it is permanent. And I was just like, so CICMN. And the documentary is called Crossing the Bridge, The Sound of Istanbul. And I know that you would really enjoy it.
Sokak hem zemin oluşundan dolayı insanı birleştirir.
And then we'll get to trivia.
Hangi sınıfsal temelden olursa o, bütün insanları aynı hizaya getirebilir. Böyle bir özelliği var bu sokağın.
Tinercisi de gelip yanımızda oturuyor. Oradan geçen elinde böyle laptopuyla falan giden insanlara yüreğine yapıyoruz. Onların bir arada buluşturuyor zaten. Bazen
Music. Another member of CSCMN says, music both divides people and unites them. It is a mirror, he says. But it also is a way for people to disguise themselves. Look at all the youth gathering around them to listen. listening to some Turkish traditional rock, yo. Like, there is ways to still retain yourself and to make things traditional, but still be modern. Again, Afrofuturism, but just for them, Turkish. And that's what it's all about. That is what it's all about. Fusing all of the eras so that we make things as potent in their meaning and our reverence as possible. To say that we haven't forgotten, you know? Just like Wilkes Street Tunnel is still here after 170 years. Turkish music is still ancient but new at the same time. Our people in the diaspora, we are ancient and new, you know. These are all part of the themes that give life deeper layers and more rich context.
Çok romantik bir şey yani, tamam mı? Bunu yaşayan adam da bilir yani, tamam mı?
So, speaking of rich context and just, you know, learning about the history of the world, our trivia is always covering artist, culture, you know, different odds and ends, and music. So this is Yen El Henna, Ganawa, Moroccan, you know, folk, but mixed into Moroccan hip-hop, rap, you know, so here's the old beating the new again. Yed El Henna by Fener. Hey. So, you ready for trivia, Marshall? I know you are. This is for 2 points, homie. Which producer is Kendrick Lamar most recently associated with collaborating? Which producer? What is going on? Oh, now I see why people say this tunnel is haunted. I feel it. I feel someone in this tunnel with me. And I literally had to say it out loud because I was like, yo, like, it's not the stuff falling from the top of the tunnel. It's not anyone, like, looking at me from either end of the tunnel. But I would see them, right? That's why I got, like, eyes on the back and then eyes here. You felt it too? Marshall, you always know. When did you start to feel it? Oh my gosh, I'm fascinated by you confirming the exact same experience. And now I think humans naturally have a fear of long, like dark, abandoned, like spaces, right? And like there's people that are like obviously taking walks and all that stuff, so like there are people around, you know? It's not just like completely alone. Folks walk through here all the time. They might be thinking about it if they see me here. But the times that I feel like no one's here, like literally no one has been in this tunnel with me, and yet someone is. Metro Boomin, by the way, for 2 points. So, which producer is Kendrick currently most well known with? What is his diss tracks? Who has been producing his diss tracks? Metro Boomin. So, this will be a great time. This will be a great time to discuss the history of this tunnel more in depth in terms of what people have felt and heard here. As soon as you asked, you started to get, right? The fact that you felt it before I said it, like you just tensed as if someone was also there with you, that is some wild and potent, tangible spiritual energy. That even though you're not here, you're like, wait, like someone else's presence is like now intermingling with like Nicole's in this space. Oh yeah. But that's also why we came here. We wanted to let whoever is here know, whether they're living or not, that they are gone but not forgotten. No one that has laid the bricks of this tunnel, no one that lived in Haiti and the adjacent free black neighborhood, no one who fled here from the South and who was here free in the North is forgotten. They are all crucial. They're all crucial to the vibrance and the vitality of Alexandria and Virginia and the world overall. Alexandria's wealth and its expanding influence on the East Coast and interaction with the rest of the world is largely because of, rail transport. The Wilkes Street Tunnel that we're sitting in today. Very unserious song to be talking about very serious things. Zunga, 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 zunga. Tell me more about what you thought as I said, hey, this place has got something happening with it. People have said it for years, and I'll tell you what they've said, but first, I don't want to, feed you, essentially coach you in your answers. And then I'll tell you what I felt, and if we have the same corroborative sensation, then oh fam, I'm gonna have to make sure that I don't have any following guests, we'll say, after I leave this place, because that has definitely happened before. After visiting several places that are spiritually charged, I'm like, oh, okay, someone's definitely accompanied me because they feel that welcome. And I'm like, that's great and all, and I am Afro-Goth, but yo, you were not invited to the crib. Several times when I was lighting up and about to, just either settle in or already was settled in after some lives, I'm just like, yo, now hold up. I know that y'all aren't just camping out and shit. I can't see you, but I feel you, my comrade, my people, my non-human peoples, whatever they are. I'm sure they're hearing my voice and somewhat stirred. I don't know if anyone sat here, and really spent time since its construction, to be honest with you. I don't know how long people really stay in this tunnel. It really is just pedestrian and transient. But in its transience, it has become very much a liminal space. You feel like you're between eras here. You feel like you are both in 2024 and a completely different century. And I wanted to get that feel for myself, because many people have described it, and I was like, oh, okay, can't be that surreal. Oh no, you can look at it, and I'm sure you can feel whoa, this is surreal. And then actually sitting here, just okay, there's definitely ghosts here. Now, that is a trick of the lighting in the sense that fluorescent mixes really well with this very bright LED light, one of the most powerful lights that I've had. And as you get closer to the dark, the LED will shine more, right? It will reverberate off of my skin. So that's a lighting thing. But what's interesting is that when you said that about the glowing, I was closest to the plaque that's discussing Haiti, right? And Haiti is, I'm assuming, responsible for a lot of the sightings that people have had here. Now, folks have cited folks from both sides of the Civil War, obviously, you can imagine, and railway operators here too. So train staff, Confederate soldiers, Union soldiers, and dead kinfolk, people have passed on. I don't know what I will see the longer that I sit here, but I certainly feel as if I'm being observed, not with unkindness, not with a sense of going away, but curiosity. Someone is curious. You tell me, my friend, because you're a lighting expert as well, but if you say that it specifically looked a little different when I was over there, I'm sure it's largely because the kinfolk were with me. And we're like, hey, someone's paying attention to us. Someone remembers us. Yes, I remember you. I always make it a point to let Black people know in any stage. That's what RTD is about. That's why we came here. Yeah, we remember you. This live is for you. And I hope, kinfolk who lived here and died here, that we will continue to find more reminders of you. I hope the others remember you too. I love you, former residents of Haiti. And if you have anything to say to them, Marshall, I'm sure they won't pester you or make you feel unwelcome, because I certainly don't feel unwelcome here. I just feel like I'm being, like I said, scoped out. Like, what's she doing here? What's that light? Hey, she's wearing kinfolk clothes. And I think when I started adjusting the diaspora apparel and talking about that before you even showed up, I started to feel this thickness in the environment and the atmosphere, as if like someone was actively like, hey, what are these designs? Like, who are these people? Well, yes, kinfolk who might be listening and watching, both alive and gone. Yeah, this is who we were. And this is also who we are. It's African, my friend. The hyphen doesn't take it out. Tell them, get from around here, undead nigga. Well, they are dead, but like undead in the sense that they're clearly not at rest. And with no father to scold me, the old heads told me, get from around here, little nigga. That's some wisdom from a New Yorker called Dave. He's pretty great. I'm just imagining I said that to someone like kinfolk that I can't see, and like they probably feel so hurt that I said that to them, like to their face. I'm like, damn, she really came for me. I didn't mean that towards you, Ghost. That's just like inside joke with me and my homie. With no father figure to scold him, Dave said, the old heads of the community, aka the elders, told him to get from around here. Lil nigga. I don't know what the ghosts think of that. Give me the loot. You said this is your favorite Biggie song? Shit, they're probably saying the same thing in their own way back then. Like, you know that they were. They're like, get from around here, youngin'. Like, we've been saying get from around here. Like, get your ass. Like, that is an old proverb of the African diaspora. Like, we've been saying that since the motherland. Because it's so good. Like, there's no like way to like express your frustration so vividly with someone than to say get your ass or get from around. You feel so chastised. All right, back to trivia. So, if you want to tell me more of what you experienced, I will tell you more about the hauntings, because some people have definitely said that they hear like scuttling train tracks. That's the shit that bothers me, because I'm a very audio-visual person, and when audio does not sync up with visual, I'm not terrified of supernatural, but that's definitely the sign that like, oh, okay, I should be more observant and aware. If I heard train tracks right about now, with no train tracks nearby, I would automatically know the deal. And apparently that's what some people have gone through at any time of the day in Wilk Street Tunnel, where we are. Others still, like I said, when no one is here, seem to get flashes of a present time. So the tunnel itself becomes a haunting. It becomes a past but viewable memory. In which there's people from the 1860s and 50s moving, to and fro, and, a train is still, like, extant, and the roundhouse is still here. But then, just as quickly as the vision of the past appears, it goes away. And then you're left in the modern era with more questions than answers, right? And that's what we talk about. America has done this to itself. The States has done that to itself. You might have saw someone walking through, and then like I have scared several living people just sitting here. I will say, I will like just like as a disclaimer, like several like people in the distance have seen me, and I think like not wanted to disturb me, so I've been like, okay, you know what I mean? Or literally like, and wide-eyed fear because I'm very Afro-goth, like just turned tail and dipped, like at varying speeds. You haven't been there for that. But like, yeah, they'll be like, and then either walk away quickly or like walk away semi-quickly or just like, okay, I'm out. I'm like, no, like no one's, like I'm not gonna kill you, bro. Like I'm obviously camped out here because I'm just chilling. Like if I wanted to do something, I'd be out there. I'm clearly in here because I don't want to be bothered, you know? So why would I bother you? Like I'm clearly sat up trying to like show my stuff and stream and work. Like I have no intimidating, apart from, you know, the visual vibes about me. But that's again anti-blackness, especially when you wear black and you just look a certain amount of tough / nonconformist. Oh, people think you are the devil. They're terrified of you. But you would not be wrong to say that if you keep looking, Marshall, and the later that it gets, and I haven't seen anybody for a minute, like, yo, you might see something over my shoulder that's not a person at some point. Because I'm definitely seeing less pedestrians out here, you feel me? This might be your first supernatural sighting, Marshall. We shall see. Oh, so for one point in culture, what is patois? We talked about it at the Prospect Park Punk Pop-Up Party, you and I and Beatrice and Nate, because y'all three are of Caribbean ancestry. Beatrice, Madam St. Beatrice, is Haitian. Nate from Winter Wolf is Jamaican American, and Marshall is Afro-Cuban American. So what is patois? From your personal experience and, you know, how would you describe patois? Because this is a diasporic lesson for all of us who don't know, and then for those of us who do. Oh yeah, that's all I do, fam. Like, and that's the funny thing. Like, I've always scared people even when I wasn't visually Afro-goth. It was simply just the context of what I was saying. I was super into Goosebumps, right? So I would just be like casually describing the plots from some of those adventure novels where you choose the ending, and that would terrify people. I would keep growing up, but I didn't necessarily dress goth, and I would talk more about, you know, like John Carpenter, you know, and Wes Craven, and, you know, House of a Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie. And like that shit really fucked people up, and I was like, dude, I feel like there's something wrong with me. Now I just know I'm a goth. That's just what we do. We talk about things that terrify people because they're not used to darker subject matter. They're just not used to shit that is out of the norm and like not conventional, right? So like here I am, and now I am visibly conveying my gothiness because I'm casual about it, and I think that there's more ideology to be shown than just spoken about, you know? So like you're seeing it here, like very gothic wear, you know, very intentionally cultural aware. So this is Joyce again, Banana, but this is the psychedelic version of the song Banana with the artist that I told you about, Nana Vasconcelos and Milton Nascimento, two Afro-Brazilian people. And I just love that she enlisted the help of two Afro-Brazilians to make this really, really groovy, like trippy Afrofuturist samba album, because at the time that this album came out and this version came out, people were like, this is so ahead of its time. And it is. It's completely different from the original, and yet it retains the soul of it so well. Banana. You're emo, exactly. Be proud of it. Patois, as per Marshall's explanation, it is a diasporic language, yes, a dialect, most popular and popularized in Jamaica. Jamaica being a Caribbean island with a population of about 50 million people. I could be wrong, but I think there might be more. Obviously one of the most iconic in terms of West Indian artistic, political, and just like social advancement, Jamaica. Right behind that would probably be Haiti, and then right behind that would be Puerto Rico, right, or Barbados. For Caribbean, anyway. So for one point, who is the artist behind Pound Town? Just left Pound Town. My pussy pink and my booty hole brown. Thugging with my rounds. Who sings that? I can't stand them. They're a Trump supporter, and I don't give a shit if it's trolling or not. I'm done with black people heaping for the dumb shit and then trying to bail out and say like, hey, I'm problematic because I'm just like satirizing. And I'm like, no, I think you're just a terrible person who wants to bail out and use that as an excuse. And even if you did, you'd still suck. So there's hella black people in our community that are like, yo, like, why should I have to like be accountable and, you know, like really take inventory for my thoughts and actions? Well, because you're a fucking artist. Now that you have a platform, what are you gonna do with it? And like, are you being self-aware while you're like on this platform that not everyone has making art? No, you're just like embracing this whack shit and then singing it, or rapping it in this particular case, and then hoping no one calls you out. And then you can't take the heat when you do. See, I don't have time for that shit, bro. Like, gender fluid term, bro. I don't have time for that, y'all. Because it gets really old. Viejo. For those that are multilingual, viejo means old in Spanish. The shit is getting viejo. Pound Town, just left Pound Town. My coochie's pink and my booty's whole brown. Yeah. Can't call my man's name because he be cheating. I love you, baby. Yeah. And I'm the reason. Thank you for letting us know that you're a terrible person in every single way, Sexy Red. That being said, I'm really getting tired of people, because they have beef with celebrities or because they don't agree with their praxis, releasing their sex tapes, regardless of how you feel about Sexy Red. Unless she leaked it herself, I do not agree with explicit content being leaked without people's permission. Like, that just needs to be said. Like, I wouldn't appreciate it for myself, neither would anybody else if they were dumb, so. But if Sexy Red did it herself and released the material, then that's a grown woman. She does what she likes, you know? I will be, like, set up a match between me and any of these rappers with these falsehoods and notions that they can step this shit and I can step to, because I will step to any one of them at any time. You're good. Got all of them. The only one he didn't get is Metro Boomin, but I'll give it to you because not everyone even knew Metro Boomin, even though they're very like in the cut and making their mark in the industry. Who is Octavia Butler? Afrofuturist. We're going to be talking more about that, especially in the trivia. Who is Afrofuturist Octavia Butler? Because we can say who she is, we can describe her, but we want to know who she is. So Sudan, like we said a month ago, there was a protest, and there's also a protest this weekend for Sudan in London. Stop killing people in Sudan is the chant. Sudan ya Arabi, Horiye. Horiye means freedom, so Sudan ya Horiye. Horiye, Horiye, yeah, ya Palestine. That's a song that you would love, by Rola Azad. Horiye, Horiye, ya Palestine. Palestine, Horiye. You would love that song. Metro Booming is on the track. What do I think of ESPN women body issues? I don't know, Marvin. And like, I'm hello, but like, no quiero, no offense, no te quiero, Taco Bell, or tu. But that's no shade. It's just like, you know, like sometimes you just be putting it out there, and I'm like, child, like, you know that I ain't with it like that, but we still like fucks with each other, yo, shit. You're the one that asked for it, put me on blast like that. And then dudes get their feelings hurt when they get all thirsty and then get publicly shot down. I'm like, no one told you to be so bold, especially with with no guarantee that I would be willing. Like, you guys are taking a real risk, like the risk like associated with like stockbroking in terms of assuming that I'm going to be receptive to your advances. Like, that's about the same percentage of a chance that you'll get winning the lottery in terms of flirting with me and succeeding. Try, certainly, for my own amusement, but don't assume that it's going to turn out in your favor. And as we've discussed in previous lives, in terms of people trying to get at me and always being the ones to initiate, but then not being willing to deal with being like less than up to par of my standards. Like, yeah, no one told you to assume that you were making the cut, I will say. And if you get rejected by me or called out by me, 9 times out of 10, I am right. That's hard to sit with. The fact that someone is right when they're telling you that you are not quite meeting their standard. But standards cannot be argued against. Especially like when it comes to problematic shit and just facts. Like, sometimes my standards are based on facts and people aren't presenting me good enough reason to trust them, so I do not. When people approach me with the respect that I both deserve and anticipate, then we can meet on even ground. But until then, oh, this is where we are, fam. And it's not just Marvin, it ain't just him. And he has a tough skin, that's why I know I can talk to him like this, you know what I mean? Not even talking down on, he's being very blunt. Like, as you can tell, Marvin, nothing really phases him, but we're talking about anybody else. In terms of getting called out and then just hoping that it goes swimmingly, like that also applies to Death Bar Thani too. Like, no one told you to hit on me and try to pursue me and then get your feelings hurt because you aren't good enough. And then be like, well, let me find someone that is gonna settle for my bullshit. Or a creature, in which case, didn't find anyone to settle for his bullshit, but was still upset to be rejected nonetheless. There's a common theme of rejection and how well people can accept it. Me, myself, I'm rolling with it. Like, I've been rejected so many times that like it is second nature to me, as hot as I am. So like, it's not gonna bother me if other people do it, unless they're doing it for problematic reasons, and we've discussed that. If I'm going to be rejected for valid reasons of people just not wanting to be around me in my company, that is not quite the same thing as me being rejected because folks are colorist or just really weird. Or just not lining up in terms of accountability. That's usually the main schism I have with people, you know? You feel me? There will always be a schism, I think, with me when it comes to just accountability. And just like what like black folks need to be doing in terms of getting to the next level of solidarity and like anti-oppression, anti-fascism, you know what I'm saying? Well, Michael, this is a continuation of several lives, so before I wanted to get into what we were just talking about, it's also what we are going to be talking about in future lives too, which is that the black community is not really seeing eye to eye with each other, and then black community and other communities of color, and then other communities that are not of color, are not quite aligning in terms of our respect for each other. So we're in Wilk Street Tunnel. This is a landmark of African American history. That's why we chose it. I live in Alexandria, so this is one of the, initially in the past, biggest population of free black people on the East Coast and in Virginia. And many people have forgotten it now. Not just because it's become a pathway and pedestrian pathway, but because, like I said, the States has always had amnesia when it comes to really accepting the circumstances of black people and why we did what we did, why we aggregated in certain communities and stuck to our own, and these neighborhoods grew, like Hayti. Hayti is a neighborhood that is just southwest of here in Alexandria. You know this city. And it is between Gibbon, South Fairfax, and Prince Streets, right? It's like a semi-square. And by 1860, it, like I said, had one of the biggest African-American populations in the Confederacy or the Union. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, people just walk through it. And I actually was talking to a brother right before this live who said, just walking through. And I was like, hey, cool tunnel. And he's like, yeah, I was here before they made it, this walkthrough. I was here when it was still a train. So he was here in the 70s, This last was a railway operation in 75. He is living history, like so many of us as black people, and, even after we're gone, are a testament to the world around us as it changed, as it didn't change, as the states expanded, and as certain ideologies died. And we died. Wilk Street Tunnel is supposedly one of the most haunted locations in the city, in the DMV area. And I wanted to get a sense for myself of why the spirits here are at unrest and why it's so important. So I showed folks earlier the plaque of Hayti at the far end of the tunnel over there. And as I was walking back, I was saying to my friend Marshall that there definitely is a palpable sense of spiritual presence. Not unfriendly, mind you, but felt. Now, that is a presence I can deal with, even if it is not necessarily warranted. What we're talking about right before you showed up, Michael, was the fact that people like my friend Marvin here, who is very persistent, is well-meaning to an extent, but ends up constantly getting into situations with me where they get rejected because they cannot just accept the boundary and step back, right? Now Marvin knows this. We've talked about this before. The beef I've had with other folks that are black specifically in our community, including Creature from Rebelmatic and Death Bar Danny from Maryland, the local area, is that it's always the pursuing of the black women, always the pursuing of me, but then not wanting to deal with being told about yourself when I'm actually in close proximity to you. So it is the cognitive dissonance of being the one to go out of your way to start the interaction, right? But then not wanting to have an honest interaction about the way you behave. And there's a schism there. Either you pursue someone, but then essentially say you want the superficial version so that they can't challenge you. They can't say anything about the way that you are in a negative way. Or you leave them alone. But you can't have your cake, in other words, and eat it too. And that's what we were saying. You can't be strange or invasive and unaccountable, right? In the way that you approach people, but then expect not to have pushback. Black men and Trump don't always have things in common, but unfortunately for those that are not checking themselves and are not as self-aware, that is a trait that you will see many males have in common with Trump, especially in the black community, is wanting to start shit and wanting to be vocal, right? And prominent in their presence, but not necessarily having a leg to stand on in terms of what they're talking about. So wanting to be vocal, but not having a basis really in anything relevant when doing so is the first step to getting told off and called out. It's the first step. But people don't want to admit that. So then it comes to the election, right? When there is a nation of people, as you can see in the red wave, who very much want to speak out and be vocal and use their vote as, an extension of their voice, especially politically. And you realize very quickly in the red wave and the election results, what was it, like 244 for Kamala and 296 or 70 for Trump, that there is a leaning towards people who are very vocal but not very smart. And wanting to be justified in being the smartest person in the room, Trump, with no real education to speak of. This is an issue. This is a recurring problem. It's not just anti-intellectualism, it's anti-accountability combined with that. So that even if you know that you're wrong or you are presented with the possibility that you are wrong, all you have to do is cop out and say, well, I don't agree with the ideology that you're presenting to me, so regardless of what you're saying, this is my camp, right? Even if this is facts, like all I have to do is just like back out of the conversation by saying like, this is too intellectual for me, or this is intellectualism that I do not support, I don't engage in. No one gives a shit if you engage in it or not, or you accept it or not. Some things are just true, right? And some things that are true about the United States and this election concurrently is that we reward oppression. We reward people who are combative with others, and we reward people who step on others to get what they want. That is the United States. That is the more sinister underpinning to the American dream, right? No one wants to talk about that shit in terms of like glorifying the American dream, what it takes to achieve it. And then the room gets real quiet, right? And people look down because it's like, when I look at them and I'm like, what did it take for your ancestors? What did it take for the people who founded this country, the fathers, to make that dream happen? What did it take for the conquistadors to achieve their dream? What did it take for Christian Bale's character, you know what I mean, and like American Psycho to achieve it? What is the common theme here, Marshall, Michael? Why is no one real about the cost of the American dream? Because it's right there. I just want to hear what you have to say, because that's my verdict. Patriarchy is just a facet of the cost and the investment of the American dream. But what is the actual price? What is the cost of the American dream? Which is why no one wants to talk about it. They want to dress it up and say, like, the American dream is, like, being able to have a white picket fence and, like, a loving, gorgeous trophy wife, and, like, kids so I can boss more people around and make more money. Patriarchy is only a subset. What is the core? And it starts with the same letter as core. Cost of the American dream. So people say the risk is worth the payoff. And you know what? The conquistadors and a lot of those assholes can say that shit. Because I guess for them it did turn out. But not so much for us. Now I question the intelligence of everyone who is black and supporting Trump as well, but I knew they would be part of the red wave because, we're gonna be honest, like, black men do not support black women. Like, that was my beef with Creature and Death Bar Danny, is like, you love to be behind black women until they call you out and say that they expect better of you. Y'all really love on me until that point. And I'm like, okay, so like y'all ain't shit. What are you gonna do about that? Then like we're enemies. And the people who are too weak to take criticism, The people who are not admitting that they're complicit in anti-black sexism and anti-black behavior are the same ones that voted for Trump. And you can prove that I'm lying when you go get the fucking electoral college results and match it up to the demographics and come up with your own conclusion. And your conclusion's gonna be wrong, because we know the same weak assholes who cannot take seeing strong women like myself and whatever you think of Kamala, her, took one look at both of us and realized what the future was gonna be, not the same, and freaked the fuck out and voted for him. Even if they weren't sure how much they were gonna make good out of the deal, right? The fact that there was a black woman at all in charge terrifies some people because they know the world would be completely different. And more importantly, fam, the world would not be in their image anymore. Many black men are terrified of having to hand over the power, or at the very least step off the pedestal and be equal to black women. Or even worse, be directed by and led by a black woman. Even though it's turned out to so many good ends before. It wouldn't necessarily with Kamala, understood. But, like, let's be real. And my mom and I said the same thing. It wouldn't matter how good of a record the black woman had, right? It wouldn't matter if they were like Kamala and supported Gaza and, like, the war, you know, the genocide there. It wouldn't matter if they were like me and they were the most anti-fascist and progressive. It's just the fact that we are in charge and a man, and specifically not a white man, is not. But black men do not want to be honest about that. They do not want to be real about how much they are complicit in the rise of Trump and the loss by Kamala and this fragmented black community. Like, it's really fucked up. I'm not going to blame all black men, but I shouldn't have to say not all black men, because we already know, like, it's a substantial portion for things to still be so far behind. I don't need to bring up the Black Panthers to y'all. You already knew that they failed, like, or else we would be living in a different world now. Why did the Black Panthers fail? Now that answer would be patriarchy, long mile, capitalism and patriarchy. But the cost of the United States, what it costs to achieve the dream here, yeah, colonialism, colonial capitalism. And, like, you have to engage with that in some way if you want to make good here. Now, some of us have managed to get along and be community without compromising those really sketchy ideals and exploiting other people. But not all of us have. Not all of us have risen to the challenge of, like, hey, we can do better. We can, like, ally and be in solidarity with people without just fucking them over, you know? Like, not all of us have reached that point. Too few of us have reached that point. Now, Michael says they were good with the Kamala presidency. I'm anti-fascist to the point where many of her ideology and her legislation, I do not. Even if Biden was the main proponent of them, she still signed off. She's still vice president VP. But would I be insecure enough to deny her presidency just because I fear her as a black woman? No. That speaks for other people, you know, and their unreadiness, their unwillingness to accept what the future is going to be. Because like I said, leadership ain't going to look like fucking Mitch McConnell anymore, fam. Like, leadership's not going to look like Trump in the future, you know what I mean? Like, we're holding on to it so much because we know that. Everyone's like, really? With Trump? I'm like, yes, really, because this is a dying system. This is a dying empire, and it's clinging to life as much as it can. All of these figures that are taking it down, that are going down with it. Capitalism in the United States are literally scrambling for a life jacket right now. And it's people, the ones that are too afraid to admit that change has already come, saw Trump as a life jacket, so they reached for him. The rest of us who are anti-fascist and, like, of our wits and sound mind are like, you can't be fucking serious. Well, this is going to be a tough-ass next 8 years, let's be honest. Like, the next 4 years are already going to be shit, and then it takes longer to undo the damage of failed presidencies. You know, we've seen that. We've seen that since we grew up, you know. For every president that does not succeed, it takes another decade to undo and to build on what they destroyed or what they did not achieve, what they didn't do right. Neoliberalism exactly just does not hold a candle to incompetent fascism. The problem is neoliberalism is incompetent fascism, Michael. It's just from a leftist leaning side, so it's even worse. It's like you are embracing all of the empty, hollow ideas of what it means to be a leftist, but you're still a fascist. That's why people don't like Kamala or Joe Biden, you know? The problem is, how do you wedge between like Trump and these two individuals in the Democratic Party to say like, we understand that at this point the system is polarizing and clearly inefficient. It's not working. You still cannot vote for an outright fascist who tried to take over the government. Can we all agree on that? Two mutual things can be true. Kamala and the Biden administration completely failed, both in their fundraising and their campaign. She didn't have that much time, so she was already doomed to fail. We all felt it in our hearts, but we didn't want to admit it until the results came. We can still admit, even though the Biden administration failed and Kamala is not really up to par in terms of progressive ideals, that it does not excuse the fact that half the fucking country and more voted for a goddamn fascist who openly admitted to and orchestrated a failed coup 3 years ago. Like, what? You kidding me? So, January 6th, I'll take you through what that day was like. January fucking 6th comes around. And we all remember what's happening in real time, especially with the tweets. Rudy Giuliani, around 1 p.m., talks about trial by combat, right? Trump rallies all his supporters and says we're going to head down there to challenge the inaugural results. Around 2:15 was when I was like, yo, this shit is getting real. Like, I feel like more people are going to show up and they actually might try to break in. We're all seeing this in real time, but like, I'm thinking like, yo, like, why are the Proud Boys and several other like factions of like racist militias converging to this one point because Trump said so? Oh, because he's specifically ordering them to be a battering ram so that he can take over Congress. And he fucking failed. But he wanted to. And as long as we can concede the fact, fam, that like, it doesn't matter what Trump ended up achieving and that he failed in the coup d'etat, it's that he tried. It's that there was a veiled attempt to send a strike team of experienced operatives, you know what I mean, like black agents essentially, and not black in terms of skin, like black ops agents, people who had that kind of training, into Congress to specifically seek out the representatives that would challenge, you understand? Like, this is not conspiracy, this is facts. Like, at the same time, dude with the water buffalo hat was out here touting his like conspiracy from QAnon. We've got to consider the fact that no one knows for sure who is responsible for QAnon. So it could be several people that are part of the GOP, let's be honest. As with any of these major, like, influential platforms that have shadowy origins, we can't rule out the fact that, like, opposing governmental, like, individuals were part of it. Now, Tucker Carlson's never going to come out and say, and I'm not confirming anything or saying this is true, hey, I was part of QAnon, you know, like, Rudy Giuliani's never going to admit that. It already has enough to worry about, that he might have been part of QAnon. You know what I mean? Trump himself, if it is so, the last thing that any of these people would want to admit is like, yeah, like, I definitely stoked the fires with this like known disinformation platform and sent out an invite through this platform so that eventually people would be so confused that they would think that a coup would be the best option for government moving forward. Now, is that true? We'll never know for sure, fam, because you know they're never going to be honest about it. But I do think it is something to consider that the popularity of the Stop the Steal coincides with the rise of QAnon, right, and Truth Social. And I wouldn't think that Trump had anything to do with QAnon until Truth Social arose, you know, concurrently at the same time, right? no one really wanted to put the dots together on that. Again, there's no, this is allegations. This is what I am piecing together from my extensive work in the nonprofit, political, anti-fascist world. But I was saying that as soon as both sites rose to prominence, I was like, oh, QAnon, this is probably a mouthpiece for several people in government. Disgruntled people that are in the GOP who want to remain anonymous. I could totally see that. But nothing really came of it until January 6th, right? Truth Social is just a mouthpiece for Trump to be upset. But what if he could do that and influence millions of people in turn? The majority of people on January 6th were bumbling morons that showed up to the call, the summons, through social media. Are we willing to admit, as ludicrous as it seems, that there were people in government who then took the momentum and the physical presence of these people and used that as a shield to have their own more focused and sinister plans carried out? I think so. I think so, and I'll tell you why. It's the chronology of these platforms. It's their contribution to the coup and the weeks before. It's the fact that several people that were invading the Capitol at that time did say that while they were there and they were inexperienced, there were several people, and not just, militiamen, not just folks that had military experience, who were moving through the crowd in a very decisive, informed way, aka someone on the inside, most likely the GOP, could have tipped this strike team off as to where to find certain people, even Mike Pence. Why? Because the mob was about 50 feet away from Pence, and who knows what they would have done if they caught him that day. He hid in the bunker, I believe, not too far from that strike team, I'm assuming, and that they had him on their list for sure. Anyone that would overturn votes against the GOP in Congress would definitely be a target. The folks who hid, especially, I'm sure they knew, they would be the first ones to go. We really have to consider, and that's the thing, people were so terrified of the implications from that coup that they didn't want to consider how closely our representatives who we voted for brushed with death because the GOP put out an assassination attempt on them. That is really hard for even Republicans, the Red Party, to acknowledge, how far fascists will go to achieve their ends. And the fact that several fascists are still in government, accomplices, to the coup, vocally for it, right up until the moment that it happened, and then ashamed or wanting to minimize their hand in it afterward. But we cannot let that happen. Y'all know what will happen if we are denialist about, history, if we don't keep it real, especially with the United States, because then we're just going to keep having amnesia and then coming too close with these almost coups, these narrow brushes with dictatorship. Because that was a very narrow brush. I think a lot of us are just uncomfortable with how close that was on January 6th. Now I will hear your thoughts and your opinions, but yeah, there's been a growing discomfort, I think, ever since that day, especially with people around here, about what it means, because several of the factions like Proud Boys, etc., they never went back home. Several of the folks that were part of the coup had warrants on them, so they never returned to their home state. They're fugitives. They're on the run. It's unfortunately not just white bigots. That's what I'm saying. It's several people that, even folks that are well-meaning that I love, you know what I mean? Who are just frightened little rabbits, let's be honest, frightened little mice. I hate comparing them to that, but it's true. Like, they see Trump or they see things like this and they run. So the first thing they want to do is downplay it and minimize it and say, like, no, we didn't come that close to having a dictatorship and, like, these situations that you see in, like, puppet governments of, like, Latin America because of, like, Contra and, like, the DEA and, like, the Reagan era. Like, no, like, that definitely can happen here. And about almost 4 years ago, it very nearly did. We cannot minimize it. We cannot forget it. It didn't change everything, and yet it did, right? It revealed some things, and then others, it did not move the meter at all. You know, I don't know. It's weird to think about January 6th. Not just as a local, but like, because now with Trump's win, right, that's a continuation of the coup, just to wrap that up before we get back to trivia. I wouldn't be talking about it so much if it wasn't like we're, or at least part of us collectively, are being revisionist about it, right? How would Trump win the election if people weren't partially trying to rewrite the fact that January 6th was a failed coup? And now they're trying to legitimize the coup by voting him into office officially. It's insane. It's so surreal, and I don't want to be ableist, but it's actually insane. To some extent, they know that he's a criminal, right? So they're trying to legitimize him by voting him into office the legal way. Whole time, this dude has a court case against him because he tried to take over Congress, dude. So if they acknowledge exactly what really happened on January 6th, bam, then they'd have to realize that they are closer to a third world banana republic than we thought. And that's why I brought up Contra. That's why I brought up Nicaragua, Guatemala, all of these different like puppet states, you know, in the Caribbean that we, the United States government rather, are directly responsible for. Like, it is actually wild. And I can't believe it. You know what I mean? You feel me? Pouring out one for my homies, you know what I'm saying? My homies. I did not have any homies that were hurt or obviously passed away in the coup, but like, you know, one for my ancestors, you know what I'm saying? Oh, for culture, for 2 points, where is Compton? If y'all don't know this, I'll be upset. For trivia, Michael, we covered Sexy Red, who is the artist behind Pound Town. Which producer is Kendrick most well known with collaborating with? Recently, we've said Metro Boomin. We talked about Patois. And yes, Cali. Perfect. There you go. Yes, Cali, South Central, Los Angeles, LA. Yeah. We never answered who's Octavia Butler, but hell yeah. You both got it. Awesome. So, Afrofuturism, who is Octavia Butler? Give me one book or a series that she's responsible for. West Side? No. South Central, slightly to the west. Compton, Long Beach, Watts, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, you know, Los Angeles. Sci-fi writer, there you go. Yeah, Parable of the Sower, Kindred, very famous. Yo, I think this is Jones Point Park, which is hilarious because it's not too far from here. I'm gonna listen to Victoria Monet. Got you, boo-boo. I figured you meant West Coast. That's okay. Like, don't have to be sorry for not knowing the book titles. I'm just informing folks who are watching, you know? Parable, Sower, Kindred, Earthseed. Why is Victoria Monet so hot? You already know I'm like pan/bisexual. She is fine as hell. But it's not about her looks. Like, she's just really talented and cool. Nice. We're getting our culture on. So, for trivia, for 1 point, Victoria Monet sings another really, really famous song. Finish the lyric. On my mama, on my... I look fly, I look... So on my mama, and then finish the line, and then I look fly, and then finish the line. You said don't give the ghost Java coffee. Java's, like, we call it coffee Java because Indonesia was very well known for coffee beans. Nice! On my mama, on my hood, I look fly, I look good. Shout out to Victoria Monet. She's a songwriter who is responsible for some of the hottest jams in the last 10 years. She was just writing everyone else's tracks and decided to become more well-known herself. That's the same for Mooney Long. So, respect Black women and their contributions, especially to music. Many times they're just behind the scenes, producing, writing, lending their creativity in so many different ways, but not always being seen for it. So I wanted to say that. She writes pretty much all her own stuff, and she takes creative control on most of her projects. Yeah, she's great. I still can't believe how much I just found out about her, as much as I know about music, not to be arrogant. So, you know, me and you both, we gotta learn more about this wonderful woman. As Rihanna said, if you're Black but you don't know quite how to dance, and you're Caribbean, double strike in some ways, just do the finger guns. And if you're diasporan and you got rhythm, then it looks like you got more sauce than you actually do. Genius, smart woman. She's so right though, like anything that Black people do has riz, so even if we can't dance, we definitely can fake the funk. That might be where that... Give the ghost Java. Soulnado on the tunnel. I mean, they're not gonna drink it off the ground. It's literally just libations for, like, they would truly be a feral ghost and probably an animal ghost to be drinking it off the ground. Now, I can dance, but I respect Rihanna and her honesty about the fact that not all of us have groove like that. Not all of us, like, have moves, but we know what works for us. Hey. I do not have a cup for them, so. I'm wondering why my Wi-Fi is not working. It was, and now it's not. So unfortunate. So we're gonna hang out for about 15 more minutes. Maybe 20. Finish up this trivia at the very least.
I told these bitches you don't think me.
You might notice the diasporan theme of the Caribbean. Where can you find ackee and saltfish? Just give us one country. It doesn't have to be like all of them. Where can you find ackee, the meal, and saltfish? I know how we feel about white people in rap, but Queen Irby is pretty fucking great, I just gotta say. Frankenstein. That's actually a really good origin point for Aki and Saltfish. Oh my gosh, not you saying Eminem is your guy. That is so tragic and unfortunate for our friendship, but I understand. I completely do why Eminem is your guy. I'm not gonna hate on artistic merit means. I'm just like, oh no. Eminem. I forgot Tech 9 and Queen Herbie made a song.
Motherfuckers beat on a masterpiece. On the wrong day, fuck it up for free. Bitch, when I run with the rest of the past of the class, the master, the academy. You don't fit the fantasy, but I can still use you to fan the
Hey.
Bitch, gonna cancel the scam with a brand new manly aspect on the ass of insanity.
I'm like, give the ghost sparkling water and coffee. You can have choices, Marshall. I never said you were perfect either, and it's okay. Hell yes! Yes, Jamaica! So, Aki and Saltfish, popularized and most well known in Jamaica, Grenada, Barbados. But I love Ivory Coast for an origin country because I do feel like it is the most similar to Ivorian, Gambian, and Senegalese food. Hey, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like coffee, sparkling water, you know what I mean? Like, if we're gonna be talking in my New York accent, you can't go wrong with some Java. You can't go wrong with some sparkling water, you know what I mean? Why you hating, Marshall? It's a win-win. It's nothing but wins. It's like 10-0. Where's the loss? It's all flavor, all vibes, no hate. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Come on now. But yes, Jamaica for Aki and Saltfish for 2 points. Not bad. Marshall's got 5. Michael's got 4. Why am I the best when I do this time? Is this the theme from God of War? It is Ragnarok. But I don't know if I have it on my computer. Ooh, I have You're My Favorite Music by Nico. One of my favorite videos too. It starts with her like having this record, right? But then she loses it, and then different people in the city throughout the day like find it and then like leave it, and then she finally gets the record back at the end. Thank you. I'm doing what I can. Lived in the city long enough to do the accent, you know? Any good Java spots in the DMV? Where are you? Are you still in New York, Michael? Or are you in Alexandria? We should like meet up and do Afro-Goth things at some point. Hang out, do history tours. Oh, so many good like coffee spots. Obviously Dunkin'. But for locals, there's Junction Bakery and Bistro right down the street from me. A little bougie and pricey, but it's so good. Abyssinia Books and Coffee. Abyssinia obviously being the old name for Ethiopia. Yeah. Shop owner is amazing. Still holding it down over there. These are 2 in Alexandria and Washington Street. You're in Falls Church. Okay, cool. Check out Bawadi. They're a Palestinian restaurant, I believe. They have coffee too. Haifa Grill, Arlington / Falls Church, and they deliver it there. You would appreciate it. My favorite music is one of my favorite songs. Like, it just conveys the mood. Alright, we got like 5 to 10 minutes left, fams. So what does on the 2 and 4 mean? You're my favorite music. Fuck yeah. Yes. Yes. Counts and a beat. So on the 2 and 4, we always make fun of rhythmically challenged, not always white people when we say rhythmically challenged people, because they usually do things on the 1 and 3, right? Just traditional European rhythm. With Afro diasporic rhythm, traditionally we start on the 2nd beat in the measure, and then the 4th, right? So when it ends, and then it loops. I figured you'd like it. Nico. You're my favorite music. What is diaspora apparel? For no points, just, you've been paying attention to us since we've made this journey of apparel. How would you describe it? I've always talked with my family about that. I'm like, why do they do things on the 1 and 3? And I'm like, oh, it's their musical structure. For Europeans, this is different. And for us, we just kind of naturally start things on the 2 and 4. So, how do you play a marimba? For 1 point. Marimba, it is a percussion instrument, but it has hollow resonant sound. It sounds like a xylophone, but obviously more earthy, because it's made of wood, not metal. Cousin to the balafon in Mali, and played the same way. Clothing celebrating blackness and African roots. There you go. Yes. Oh my gosh, Marshall and Michael. The best clothing line for the realest people in touch with their roots, looking for growth, looking for goth too. It has 2 sticks, yes, mallets, but call them sticks. They are sticks. And that's how you play marimba. Last but not least, before we go and wrap up and summarize, who is Tupac's mother? Who is Tupac's mama, dear mama? Yes, and Maleto, la bateria, the drummer. Afeni Shakur is Tupac's mom, and she named him, Tupac, after the Inca emperor in Peru in medieval times, before, Pizarro showed up looking for gold and trying to take it from the badass Incan Empire. Tupac was their leader. And he eventually had to surrender to the Europeans, but he fought them hard, as long as he could. Yeah, Tupac Amaru. So always remember, the diaspora, we live long and we have a lot to recollect in terms of what we have done, how we have done it, why, the hows, the whens, the whys of the diaspora, right? A lot going on there. To tell that story, we'd be here every day doing lives for hours for decades past this point. It really is that severe and that serious. African history is extensive, and Black history as well, you know. We went through a lot and we endured much to still be here and to still be thriving. So thank a Black person for doing their thing today. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't even have to be RTD. Who is allegedly Tupac's high school sweetheart, Jada Pinkett, right? So they say. We're also speaking of Black history and just, you know, different eras of time. And one era of time has definitely been pre-Civil War, antebellum United States that is still having rippling effects on our culture today. Some things change and then some things stay the same. But I hope that us as the diaspora, we manage to change in ways that are transformative, that are beautiful, that are progressive, while still retaining our identity and remaining African. I love y'all. You know where to find me, you know, your resident local Afro-goth. I'm definitely going to be back here again soon at the end of the week, but, you know, until then, over and out. Nicole Kali, LAX, and Wilk Street Tunnel if you ever want to come visit. And I'll see you next time. It has been very fun.